again, we're Code Red here today, but I had to come in to shoot this introduction as well as upload the video. This week we're putting on a new exhaust system, turbo back, on a Dodge truck. We've also got a little more body work being done to the front clip of that 69 Nova, and there's a couple of other things thrown in for good mix. Hope you enjoy it. The new exhaust for my truck is here, so we're going to try to get this put on today. Before we get to the exhaust replacement, I wanted to mention that I had a different intro shot for this, but then I had to remind myself why I started doing this YouTube show. And that is because of all the nonsense that's already out there for people to view. I wanted to put something out that was more positive, and definitely positive in relation to high school students and what they're capable of doing. So I've decided not to incorporate the name of the company in this, but I will be forwarding them a link to this video so that they can view it. You can see the new downpipe on the right hand side is considerably smaller than the original one on the left. That is an external flange, and this one is an internal flange on the right side. So what I'm going to have to do, I don't have time to wait for them to send me the correct one, so I'm going to have to grind the old one off at the weld and then get it pressed off of the original pipe, and then we'll press it on to this one so we can mount the new downpipe for our new exhaust. In order to use this flange on the new pipe, I'm going to cut the weld here with a cutoff wheel, and then I should be able to remove the internal piece, and then this we should be able to press onto the new pipe. With the weld cut away, you can clearly see the two pieces of pipe. We're going to get busy now separating them. I cut a groove in the inner ring so you can see it's coming off very nicely. We've got a little bit over here that we need to maybe grind a little bit, and then we should be ready to press this onto the pipe and weld it in. The inside piece cut out, we just need to grind it to make it fit the other pipe. So what I did is I measured the original one from this flange down, and I made 3 inches. I'm at 2 marks on each side with tape, so they're 3 inches from the top of that tape line. So what we're going to do now is press, we're going to take a brass hammer and knock this down, pressing it onto the pipe until we reach 3 inches on both sides, and then we know it's where the original one would have been on the down pipe, and then we can weld that in place, then we can start putting the exhaust back on the truck. It's pressed on nice and even, our measurements are good, so now we're going to weld it. Perfect, man. Go right on in there too. Like that. This is how the muffler came out of the box, so now I got to fix it as well. Very disappointing. The guys are getting busy putting a new down pipe up to the turbo. And now installing the rest of the pieces with the new clamps and hooking it into the muffler. So close. Don't hit your finger. Get your fingers out of that. There you go. Watch your fingers, Andrews. You can see why it was so important to fix that end of the muffler, because that one went over that piece of pipe. There you go. Now Audi is gently tightening all of the clamps, going back and forth so we get an even squeeze on each of the pipes. New exhaust is on, or everything's bolted up. Let's see how she sounds. A lot quieter than it was. I didn't get as much footage of this as I'd have liked because they were working too fast for me to keep up with them as I was filming other things. But Dylan's taking all that stuff loose from the top. Now from underneath with the half shafts out, he's taking the cradle loose. And then they're going to drop the entire assembly by raising the car off of it. Alright, raise him up. Keep an eye on everything.
I'm using 40 grit to DA the rust scale to see what repairs need to be made. This fender had a trim piece on it, as is evident by the holes. Somebody had filled these with body filler. I'm gonna weld them shut.
You can see where someone had taken and pushed these in or knocked these in with a hammer so the body filler would stick. So Alejandro is going to be knocking these back out flush along with welding them. We're going to make the fender look as good as it did when it was new.
With the body filler out of the way, I'm hammering the holes back flush before welding them.
Normally we would use a dolly on the outside of this while he's hammering on the backside, but since the backside is concave, it's going to be better to use the ball end of a ball peen hammer to knock them up.
In welding the hole shut, I'm using a lead weight as a backing to make for a cleaner repair on the inside.
I was using the lead because the weld won't stick to it, so then it can't go through the backside. Normally you would use a copper spoon, but anything that weld won't stick to will work. With all the steering work done, Audi's about to do the alignment. Here he's loading the information of the vehicle into the machine. We're going to be doing this in a future episode where I will show you the entire alignment process, but this is just a short version of it. Here we're setting up the vehicle to the machine, so it's asking us to move forward, and we jump to a stop. Once it has that information registered, it'll then ask us to go backward. We will move the vehicle backward, and then it will pick up that information. And then once it has it loaded into the machine, it will then ask us to move back forward one more time so the vehicle can go back to where we originally started, and then we can do the alignment from there. Alright, so looks like we've got our camber, which is the two bigger ones at the top. They're in the green. Looks like they're good to go. The caster's not adjustable. We didn't do a caster swing anyway, so we're not worried about that. The caster is just to help for returnability in the steering, or to make the steering easier. But what we do need to do is adjust that toe. So we're negative on one side, positive on the other, so this thing would be trying to drift one direction or steer one direction on us. So we'll get those all the new tie rods adjusted, tightened down. He should be good to go. Here's the new inner and outer tie rod assembly along with the jam nut there. What he's going to be doing is turning the inner tie rod to get the alignment correct, then go back and tighten the jam nut and do the same to the other side. You can see the toe is in the green now and it's ready for a test drive.
Alright, so you're probably wondering why the Kawasaki Concours tank is in the back of my truck at the moment. So if you saw last week's episode, we ended up taking the, finally getting the gas cap out. I don't know if y'all saw inside of the tank or not, but it's pretty rusty in there. So I bought some tank clean, but I didn't feel like shaking it for an hour. So, a little bit of backstory, I suppose. At an old job that I used to work at, in another dealership, they had a washer, like to wash your clothes with. They tore it down to just the spinning part and the motor. What they would do is, they'd strap a gas tank, put cleaner in it, strap it down to the washer, and let it run for a few hours to clean the tank. So my truck suspension is a little stiff. So what I'm going to do is, I actually need gas and I need to go run a couple errands. So I'm going to strap it down, put a cover over it. I'm just going to let the truck shake all the fluid in the tank to clean it out. So the idea here is, as I'm going down the road, the bump in the road will shake the contents of the tank, which I now have rust remover in. And hopefully, going out for maybe a good hour or so, should shake it up enough and get all the rust out of it. Alright, now that she's nicely strapped down and covered, we're gonna go for a ride. One thing I did forget to mention, halfway through this process, I did actually turn the tank around on its top so that the rust remover would be able to get all the rust off the top. I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna go for a nice hour-long test drive. I have some more errands I need to run, and I'll get back to you shortly. As you can see, this got quite a lot out. I'm still gonna run some cleaner through it just to get all the finer stuff out, but look at that. So now I'm gonna be running cleaner through the tank. This is KBS Clean, and the rust remover that I used was Rust Blast, also from KBS. You can get these at your local power sports dealer. It's definitely a lot better than it was, that's for sure.
Next time on Bulldog Builds, we'll have that Nova fender about finished up, along with I'm not sure what we're going to be getting into yet. And we'll get back on the Fortune tractor by installing the camshaft and timing gears. See you next week.